The murder of Severus Alexander. On this date, March 22nd, 235 AD, Roman Emperor Severus Alexander and his mother, Julia Soemias, were murdered by his own soldiers. Alexander became emperor at the age of 14 after his cousin Elagabalus and his aunt, Julia Soemias, were murdered by his own bodyguards. Severus Alexander, because he was 14 years old, was an immature child who had no idea how to run a vast empire, had to rely upon his grandmother, Julia Soemias, and his mother for guidance during his first few years until her death a couple of years later. Unlike his cousin Elagabalus, his bodyguards and the military grew to respect Alexander because of his willingness to learn simple virtues and moderate behavior, which was the polar opposite of his late cousin. Under the guidance of his mother, Alexander's domestic policies such as religious freedoms, getting rid of corrupt officials, expanding the rights to soldiers, and free education made for a happy populace. But the peace in the empire was disrupted with the rise of the Sasanian Empire and their leader, Artaxerxes I, and his armies, which ravaged the eastern frontier of the Roman Empire until Alexander led an army to retake most of the territory the Sasanians invaded. The military was also showing signs of a breakdown in discipline throughout the empire. The soldiers viewed Alexander as a non-soldier who was dominated and controlled by his mother, was drastically losing their support. In 234 AD, the German and Sarmatian tribes began to loot and plunder cities and lands near the Roman Empire's borders right around the time Severus Alexander's campaign to push back the Sasanian invasion ended. The tribes' unchecked raids demoralized the already tired soldiers who now had to come home and see the damage and chaos they have created. Alexander's mother Julia suggested that they pay off the tribes in order to give them enough time to organize a successful counterattack. This scheme infuriated the Roman legions who had no more faith in their emperor and searched for a replacement. The biggest legion, Legio IV Italica's leader, Maximus Thrax, was the army's chosen one. His rise in the ranks from foot soldier to commanding officer made him a popular choice amongst the men. Alexander met his fate on March 22, 235 AD, when his soldiers in the Fortune's 22nd Legion revolted against him when they learned about his mother's plans to bribe the Germanic tribes. His reputation was destroyed, and the soldiers raided his tent, killing him and his mother. Maximus Thrax was soon hailed as the new Roman emperor. He called the late Alexander a feeble coward and killed all of his friends and associates. But the power that he used to rise to the top would eventually be his downfall and lead to 50 years of chaos known as the Crisis of the Third Century.